How we doing, everybody, and welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Monday. I want to say fantastic, but I don't know if I can say fantastic today. We had snow yesterday. They're talking about rain coming up this week yet, so it's just going to turn into a muddy, slushy, just a mess. Just a mess. And you know what's a mess? Wisconsin sports are a mess. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. Wisconsin sports are a mess as a total right now. So we got lots to jump into today. I don't know where to start because over the weekend we had bad news all the way around from Wisconsin Badger sports. Then we get into more out of the men's basketball team coming out yesterday there. And, there was a bright side. Marquette did win. So we'll talk about a bright side there. We had the Bucks winning over the weekend there, so we can maybe jump into the Bucks a little bit. But, there's a couple things that I want to talk about today that I didn't know if I was going to get to because I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it, but we're here. So with that, I want to talk about right away Wisconsin women's hockey. They fell to the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it always seems like the Badgers, it doesn't matter what sport it is. Football, basketball has had issues over the past. It doesn't matter. It's Ohio State. They always find a way to beat the Badgers. And here we go, Wisconsin women's hockey all the way. They beat Colgate on Friday, had a date with the Ohio State Buckeyes on Sunday for the title. And, Ohio State wins it 1-0. This game, you can't say it wasn't close. It was 0-0 going into the third period. 0-0 until about 12:48 to go in that third period. And that's where Ohio State scored their one and only goal of the entire afternoon in that third period there. And that was it. That's all they needed to fend off the Badgers. Badgers didn't go with much of, they put up a fight. I'm not going to say they didn't put up a fight, but there wasn't much happening on the offense for the Badgers there in that matchup with the Buckeyes. So Badgers lose the championship game to Ohio State. All in all, it was another fantastic year for the Wisconsin Badger women's hockey team. You can't say anything less than they played a fantastic season. It's just Ohio State was Ohio State. They're returning to the title game for, it was like the fourth consecutive year that they've been there. This Buckeyes team has been rolling as of late, and they got in there once again, and this year they were able to beat the Badgers. Last year, Badgers had the upper hand. This year, this was Ohio State's year. So it sucks to see the Badgers women's team end like that, but hey, what can you do? What can you do? It's all uphill from here, right? Badgers women's hockey will be good again once again next year. We just know it. We just know it. They just have to be because there's lots of other Badger sports that they just let us down. So with that, I want to talk a little bit of Brewers here. Brewers did get the win over the weekend there against the Diamondbacks. They had an outburst of scoring there against the Diamondbacks this last weekend. 14-4 was the final. We saw Willy Adames go 3 home runs in that game. He had in total, I believe, 6 RBIs, 3 for 3 day for Willy. So that's fantastic. To see Willy Adames starting to put up power numbers, there's nothing better. That's what we wanted to see. Also, Sal Frelick did have a home run, and Rhys Hoskins had a home run. Both those guys went back-to-back there in that one. Outside of that, Yelich was 2 for 4 on the day. Not a bad day for Yelich. Gary Sanchez played 1 for 5. Same with Blake Perkins. Monasterio 1 for 3 on the day. Luis Lara, 19-year-old prospect. If you haven't really dug deep into the Brewers prospects, Luis Lara is like the Jackson Churro coming up through the minor league system for the Brewers. This guy's 19 years old, and he's fantastic. Had a 2-run shot there for the Brewers in that one. 19 years old. And this guy, he is a fantastic ball player. So if there's a guy to watch there, climbing through the minors throughout the year, outside of maybe like a Brock Wilkin, Tyler Black, some of the other pitchers out there, this is a fantastic outfield prospect for the Brewers. So keep an eye on the name Luis Lara as time goes on here. But we saw Luis Lara go 1 for 3 on the day. Pitching-wise for the Brewers, we saw DL Hall pitched pretty well. 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 runs, 5 hits, 4 strikeouts in the game. DL Hall pitched great for the Brewers. He had the first inning was a blow-up inning for him. He kind of struggled there second inning, struggled there in that second to get the D-backs out. But after that, he settled in. Everything was working for him. His off-speed stuff is nasty. This guy is going to be fantastic. So great to see there. Hudson, another good outing out of Hudson there for the Brewers. 2 innings, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. He pitched well. And then Yeager did get in there. He had an inning pitched and 2 strikeouts for him. Brewers got to Merrill Kelly in this game. 3 2/3, 6 earned runs, 6 runs, 5 hits, 3 home runs given up for him in that one. Brewers got all over Merrill Kelly. So that's fantastic to see. Other than that, for the D-backs, we saw bits and pieces of guys that we're going to see throughout the year. Tucker Barnhart did play for him. Elmora Jr. played. McCarthy played a little bit. But other than that, not really many of your everyday guys. Jace Peterson played for him there in that one. But outside of that, not a whole lot for the D-backs in this one. So Brewers win the weekend over the D-backs 14-4. They will have the Rockies coming up. That'll be today here. A 3:10 start for that one. That will be Colin Ray getting the ball for the Brewers there, going up against the Colorado Rockies in that one. And then the Brewers will have one more date with the Rockies here on Tuesday. That'll be Aaron Ashby getting the start for the Brewers in that one. And that'll be leading up. That's the lead up to opening day for the Brewers there, coming up on Thursday against the Mets, where Freddie will get the ball against Jose Quintana. So I got lots to talk about with the Brewers this week, lots of questions that I still have with this Brewers team, but we'll get into that as the week goes on here, because I want to get into it with the lead up to the Brewers, right? Get into it a little bit more here as we go. So, like I said, Brewers in action today, 3:10 start there, going against the Colorado Rockies. But last night, we did see the Bucks got a win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they did it in pretty impressive fashion there. 118-93 was the final in that one. The Bucks did well, defensively in this game, kind of slowing down what the Thunder wanted to do. Chet Holmgren, 1 for 10 on the game, 0 for 5 from downtown there. He only had 6 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went for 12. It's the guy who averages 30 a game. And 12 points in this one against the Bucks in 30 minutes. Giddey was actually a leading scorer with 19. And then Williams went for 18 for the Thunder. All the way around for the Thunder in this one, they were 10 for 43 from downtown, 33 for 69, 33 for 89 from the floor in this one, 37 rebounds and 12 turnovers. The Bucks in this one, Giannis goes for 30. Dame had 11, 14 for Brook, 11 for Chris Middleton. The bench scoring is what was impressive for the Bucks in this one. Jay Crowder goes for 10 points off the bench. This is a role that I think he can fulfill better than being a starter. He had 10 points off the bench. Bobby goes for 15, and then Pat Bev, he added 1 point in this game, and Pat Connaughton had 11 for him. We saw Gallinari hit a 3 late in that one, so that was good to see Gallinari getting in there and hitting a big 3 for the Bucks. They were 11 for 34 from downtown in this one, so not much better than the Thunder, but a little bit better from the floor. 49 for 92, 9 for 14 from the free throw line. They had 57 rebounds in this game. 57 rebounds in total, 16 turnovers, but 57 rebounds for the Bucks. They had 15 offensive rebounds in this game. So impressive all the way around there from Milwaukee. They get the win. They controlled for the most part in this game. They held OKC to 17 points in the third quarter. That's impressive, if you ask me. Impressive defensive showing by the Bucks in this one. Bucks moved to 46-25 on the year. They will continue this homestand. They have the Lakers up next here. That'll be coming up on Tuesday. They'll have the Lakers there for a 6:30 start from the Pfizer before they travel on Thursday to take the Pelicans on there at New Orleans for that one. So Bucks get another home game there at the Lakers. We'll talk about that one as this week goes on, getting more into it tomorrow here with the pregame show. But with that, I want to talk about a couple of our sponsors here quick before we move on. First, Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. Also, Marshfield Motor Speedways. Stop in there. Located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Stop in there. Tons of family fun. Plan some summer days and nights down there at the track. Located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield there, Marshfield, Wisconsin. Find them there right on County Road H. When you're heading out of Marshfield, on your left there, about 3 miles out, you'll find them. Tons of fun. I'm going to tell you this now, and it's just getting, once the snow is gone, the track will be clear. We'll be getting closer to summer. That's when you got to be planning some trips down there to Marshfield Motor Speedways. So with that, we got to move on here. We got to talk about, the good, the bad, the ugly. I don't know what you want to talk about. It came out of March Madness. So right away, I'm going to talk about some of the Big Ten teams. So we did see Northwestern fall to UConn, 75-52. So Northwestern, they're eliminated from the Big Ten, or from the March Madness tourney here. Illinois got the win over Duquesne, 89-63. Impressive fashion there at Illinois. They got the win. They're going to move on to play Iowa State here in the Sweet 16. And then we saw Michigan State lose to North Carolina, jumped out to a big early lead, and then North Carolina made that comeback and just were too much. They were too much for Michigan State. And well, Tom Izzo said it after the game is he's going to advance in this tourney or he's gonna die trying. That's what he said. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Tom Izzo's outlook is in the offseason here for Michigan State. I could see him going out there and he hasn't been big in the transfer portal yet. This could be a year where he jumps into the transfer portal and finds just about anything he can. So that sets up a matchup now with Alabama and North Carolina there coming out of that side. We also saw Clemson and Baylor. That was a close game. 72-64 was the final there. Clemson moves on to face Arizona. We saw Creighton sneak past in double overtime. Not sneak, they won by 13, but double overtime game with Oregon. Just became too much. Creighton gets the win. They're going to face Tennessee coming up. And then we saw Purdue with dominating fashion. Once again, they took care of Utah State. I don't like Purdue, so I hate to say dominating fashion, but that 106-67 was the final there. Purdue got the win over Utah State. They will face Gonzaga now coming up here in the Sweet 16. Other matchups, other notables. Duke beat James Madison, right? They avenged the Badgers. I never thought I would rely on the Duke Blue Devils to avenge the Badgers ever because I don't like Duke. But I'm one of those fans, right? You beat my team. I need this other team to avenge me. It doesn't matter who they are. And we saw it there. Duke beats James Madison 93-55 was the final there. Duke just completely routed James Madison in that game. So that's, the big ones that I wanted to look at there in the tournament bracket. I'll get the final tallies up and I will announce on the show here who was the winner in the first round here in the tournament challenge there on ESPN for the show. But with that, we got to move on. I want to talk about the good before I talk about the bad, right? I hate talking about the bad right away. So let's go with the good news. Marquette won. We did see Marquette advance in the tournament. They beat Western Kentucky on Friday. And then yesterday there, they got the win over Colorado. A close one. Colorado made it a game there in the second half. 11-point game at the half there. Marquette was winning. And Colorado closed the gap. Lost this game 81-77, but a good game out of Simpson there for Colorado. 20 points, 8 for 19 from the floor. This guy was shooting the ball well, went cold on him, and, well, that's what led to Colorado kind of falling apart, falling down, and Marquette was able to pull this one out here. Tyler Colic was the leader for Marquette in that game, 21 points for him, 10 for 14 from the floor. He was 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 5 rebounds and 11 assists. That's a big number you got to look at there, is that 11 assists for him in that one. 6 turnovers, something he's got to clean up here moving forward if you are Marquette. But other than that, this team played well, and they got the win. That's what matters, right? You get to March. Doesn't matter how it looks. You just got to get wins, and that's what they did in this one. Joplin went for 14. We saw Iguodaro get 10 for him, and then 18 from Cam Jones. Outside of that, off the bench, Ross had 12. I believe Ben Gold had one of the bigger shots of the day there. He had a 3 late in that one, and that was it. 3 points on the day in 8 minutes of play. So Ben Gold, I believe, he's your underlying factor, right? That big 3. Nah, I'm just kidding. Tyler Colic played well throughout this entire one, and you could tell how much better Marquette is when Tyler Colic's on the floor. You could say that about any team when your star goes out, but this team in Marquette without Tyler Colic, they were falling apart at the seams. It seemed like nothing was running right. Now Tyler Colic comes back, and this team is fueled and ready for a run. So Marquette gets a win over Colorado, 81-77. They will square off with NC State next. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see the NC State. I didn't want to see them. The Wolfpack, I was done with them. I was cheering for them for a while. And then they faced Jack Golke. And I was like, I don't want to see NC State anymore. I want Golke to advance here. And well, sadly, no more Golke. We don't get the watches. This guy's nuts. This guy's crazy. I saw his pregame shooting routine before that NC State game. From 9 to 9:45 was his spot shooting, 250 shots there. Then he had his 10 a.m. team practice, and from 3 to 4:30 at night, he had full speed game situation shooting, 500 shots. This guy put up 750 shots before the game even started. That's ridiculous. I mean, this guy was crazy. He was that guy. Every year in the tournament, you find that guy, right? The one guy that from a smaller school that you just hope they can make it all the way. And this was my guy. Jack Golke was one of those guys where I was like, I'm hoping this Oakland team just keeps figuring it out. Well, NC State was just too much for him in overtime, and they were shutting down Golke. He couldn't get an open look, and, well, that led to the downfall there, and Oakland did lose that game to NC State. So now we will get a matchup of Marquette and NC. I got to be honest, if Oakland would have beat NC State, I was cheering for Oakland against Marquette. I'm not that big of a Marquette fan. I like Wisconsin teams advancing in the tournament, but I'm not that big of a Marquette guy. I'm more of a Wisconsin guy. You guys know that. So, I mean, I would have cheered for Oakland. I'd been like Oakland all day long, but Oakland loses, so now you got to avenge me now, Marquette. You got to avenge my loss, my Jack Golke loss. You got to avenge me there and get me a win here against the Wolfpack and advance to that Elite Eight. I want to see Marquette win it. I can see Marquette now. I mean, Houston's a good team. I don't know if they were. I mean, there's good teams throughout this tournament, but I don't know. I mean, I could just see a Marquette team squeezing into the Final Four. They got the pieces back together. It's just a matter of, can they make it work? I mean, they snuck it out against Colorado, but now you got a team like NC State. This is a team who's been hitting their strides, but they have their flaws throughout the year, right? This is a team that wasn't even expected to make the tournament. Now they're in the tournament. They had to wipe out the ACC to get in there. Now they've been rolling into the big dance now. How does this Marquette team square off with them? We're going to get more into that as the week goes on. We'll get into the matchup, the pregame there, coming up here on Friday, because I believe that game will be on Friday for that one. I'm pretty darn sure that'll be Friday. So Marquette will square off with NC State on Friday. We'll get more into that game coming up there on Friday. So with that, I want to get to a couple more of our sponsors here quick before we move on. First, your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Sports Scene, sports cards, and memorabilia. Stop in there in the Marshfield Mall and see Al. They got everything you need there, from sports cards to memorabilia, jerseys, everything you need. Model stock cards, they got it all at Sports Scene in Marshfield, located in the Marshfield Mall. And also Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. We just got snow, so whether you hurt yourself shoveling snow, walking on the snow, whether you are working and hurt yourself, whatever it was. You might have hurt yourself on the basketball court. There's a lot of alumni tournaments happening right now. You might have hurt yourself on the basketball court. You got to get yourself some physical therapy. Stop in there and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. He'll get you right. He'll get you right. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to work. But he'll get you right. He'll get you back to work, back on the field, back on the court, whatever it is. He'll get you back there. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. Sorry, I had something in my throat there. Couldn't get it out. It's probably my next segment that's coming up. I didn't want to talk about it, so I was choking up on it a little bit. But with that, we got to get into the one thing I didn't want to talk about today. See, my voice is back now. It's back now. We must have. I just got over it. Now we got to talk about it. Badgers lose to James Madison. I didn't want to talk about a Badgers loss. I mean, we talked about it, and I was like, I'm hoping to give you guys a pregame leading up into the Sunday game against Duke. I was so excited. I mean, I just expected, I saw the Badgers in the Big Ten tourney. They were rolling right along, and I was like, I'm liking the odds. I'm liking the odds. And it's all of a sudden this team, the game, I mean, I was sitting there on Friday, right? I'm sitting there on Friday, and I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and it's just like 8:40 couldn't come fast enough, right? It couldn't come fast enough, and I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it to come. I don't want it to come. I don't want it to be there, right? And it got there, and I was like, okay, let's get this thing started. But then right before the game started, I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for this game because I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go, right? We've seen two different Badger teams this year. We saw the team through the first half of the year, and they played fantastic. Offensive efficiency was through the roof. They were one of the better teams offensively in the country. I was like, this team, if that team shows up, this could be a scary team come March. Then we got into the second half of the year. Right after that Nebraska first half, right? Season started to fall apart. And everything was falling apart at its seams. And it was like, okay, what team's going to show up? Because then Big Ten tournament came around. And this team all of a sudden resorted back to what we saw in the first half of the year. They were shooting the lights out. Offense was flowing. Everything looked good. And it was like, okay, what team are we going to get now? We've seen it all. What are we going to get now? Well, against James Madison, we got 19 turnovers. 8 for 19 from layups. 2 feet, layups, whatever you want to call it. 8 for 18 shooting layups. 8 for 21 from downtown. I don't look at that as that bad. 8 for 21, not terrible. 38% from the three in this one. 15 for 23 from the free throw line. They were 65%. Not a great showing from the free throw line. A lot of that, I mean, Tyler Wall, 3 for 6. Stephen Crowell, 1 for 2. AJ Storr, Klesman both missed a free throw. Blackwell missed a free throw. Not terrible. But the 19 for 51 from the field, you pair that with the 19 turnovers, not many games you're going to win. Now, I look at this game, and I saw a lot of people after the game saying James Madison was just so good, and Wisconsin wasn't even, not even close, blah, blah, blah. I don't even think James Madison played that well. 72 points, nothing to shake your head at, but 41% from the field, 23 for 56. They were 21 for 30 from the free throw line, and 5 for 17 from downtown. It's not like they were fantastic. They didn't play offensively fantastic. They didn't play offensively fantastic in this entire tournament, James Madison. Because if you look at that next day, or that Sunday game against Duke, they scored 55 points. Gave up 93. So, and Duke, people will say it's Duke, and Duke's that much better. Duke's not that good. Realistically. When you watch this Duke team, they aren't that great. Offensively, McCain played well for him. He had 30 points against James Madison. That was big difference. But Flip hasn't been playing well. Proctor hasn't been playing well. Mitchell can't hit from the outside. He's been playing well, but he can't hit from the outside. Duke hasn't been playing that fantastic, and yet they blew the doors off James Madison. So what's the difference there? Turnovers, right? In that game, Duke had 6 turnovers. Wisconsin had 19. There's your difference. James Madison isn't a team that's going to beat you more than once if you are Wisconsin. If this game was in Madison and Wisconsin was playing like we saw in the Big Ten tourney, like we saw early on in the year, they beat James Madison. Heck, I think even in the second part of the year, they could have found a way to beat James Madison. It's just a matter of Wisconsin killed themselves in this game. They shot themselves in the foot. From the opening tip on, wire to wire, James Madison led this game. And it wasn't to the fact of, they had 20-some points off of turnovers. And that is a big factor in games. I'm not going to say it is. But if you put James Madison against Wisconsin and both teams are playing well their games, Wisconsin wins. I'm going to be honest with you. Wisconsin wins. Just because skill-wise, they are better. They have more size. Something the Badgers didn't utilize in this game. size. And you look at their offense, right? And Bill Raftery and Grant Hill on there, the Badgers running their swing offense. They aren't running a swing offense anymore. I wanted to reach through the TV and punch those two in the mouth. They aren't running a swing offense anymore. This is their new European-style Kirk Penny offense that they're running now, right? And when you watch it, the things the Badgers wanted to do was cut and drive, right? AJ Storr wanted to drive to the basket. And when you have Steven Crowell standing in the post, that adds another defender. And when you add more defenders in that paint, where's the driving lane then? It's not there. Then you got to look for kickouts. But you look at AJ Storr in this game, only 1 assist on the entire game. Now, yeah, he might have passed out a couple more times, a couple more missed shots, whatever it was, but I didn't see him pass out of it too often. He'd dribble in there, and whether it was a missed shot, the guy shot 5 for 14 on the day, whether it was a missed shot or a turnover, he had 4 turnovers. That was the story of it. Driving lanes weren't there because the Badger offense was packing the lane. For some reason, we were packing up the lane, allowing more defenders. Then weak side help would come. And then you have 3 guys standing down there. And instead of looking to kick, we just turn it over. We just try to make a move through 3 guys. Kickouts were there. The Badgers weren't moving the basketball like we saw them doing the Big Ten tourney. They weren't moving the basketball. And, I mean, that led to a lot of it here. A big difference between Duke and Wisconsin was Duke saw what James Madison did to Wisconsin. James Madison came out and punched Wisconsin in the mouth. And Duke punched James Madison in the mouth. They said, we know we're better than you, and this is how this game is going to be dictated. You want to blame it on reffing? You can. There was a lot of, James Madison in this game against Wisconsin, I'm not going to say that they did not play overly aggressive. That's a thing. That is a thing. You can play aggressive, and then you can play overly aggressive where there should be foul calls being made. Wisconsin couldn't get clean looks because there was lots of times where I remember there was one where Steven Crowell got the ball and there was a James Madison guy who grabbed around him. In my book, that's foul. Wasn't called that night. I believe reffing has been terrible in this entire tournament, but this game was bad. It was badly reffed in this ball game here. I believe there was only 20 fouls called, and at one point, Wisconsin wasn't even playing that aggressive, if you ask me. They weren't playing aggressive, and I wish they would have, but they didn't. And yet, they had one less foul in this entire game than a team that was playing aggressive from wire to wire. They were all after you, all up in your grill, hands all over you, and yet they had one more foul called. I mean, that was one of the things that I if you want to blame reffing, I could see it from a standpoint of there's a lot of handsy plays, and the Badgers weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for that part of the game to be played here. But turnovers, that was the big kicker for Wisconsin. Turnovers in that first half. That's what led James Madison to get out to a big lead because the Badgers played better in the second half. I mean, they outscored James Madison. They scored 41 points in the second half. I mean, it's just a matter of when you have a first half where you only score 20 and you're down 13, it's hard to come back in a game where you're not playing that great yourself, right? There was a turning point for me in this game. Badgers were down, I believe, 6 at the time. They got it down to 6. And Klesmit drove. I thought he got fouled. He split the double team. I thought he got fouled. No call. Made it through, had a wide open shot, and that ball seemed to sit on the rim for like 20 minutes, right? It seemed like forever. It wasn't that long, but it seemed like forever. Rimmed off, and James Madison went down and scored. After that, it was over. It was like an 11-point game. Badgers would get it down to 8, and they just couldn't. It seemed like every time the Badgers, James Madison didn't play well in this game. I am not going to. Anybody who wants to argue with me that James Madison played well in this game, I'll argue with you all day long because they did not play well. They might have been the more aggressive team, right? They might have played more aggressive than the Badgers, but outside of that, they didn't play well. This was a 31-3 team. And I really did expect a lot more when everybody was telling me how good they are and their guard plays so good and everything like that. They didn't shoot the ball well. I mean, the Badgers just shot. They had a lot of defensive lapses by the Badgers led to wide open shots. Those are the ones they hit and transition threes. Other than that, I mean, they didn't play well. And yet they got the win, 11-point win over the Badgers. Yeah, you could say free throw line. They did have, I believe, hit 6 more free throws, so there's a little bit. Makes the game a little bit closer, right? But other than that, I mean, the Badgers outshot them from the 3-point line. It was just the little things, the transition, the fast break, the turnover buckets that killed the Badgers. And that's all you can lead it to. Now, this is going to lead me into my next part. So, throughout the game, and throughout a lot of games the Badgers have played, they've struggled shooting the basketball. And I've said to myself, one of our best shooters, and if he's not, I could argue the best shooter on the Badgers team from the perimeter is Connor Sejan. And he sat there on the bench and just watched. And this team couldn't shoot in the first half. And yet he sat there, and he sat there, and he sat there. No playing time, no playing time. We saw Gilmore. We saw McGee. We saw Marcus Ilvers. We saw Nolan Winter. We saw Blackwell, but no Sejan. I didn't get it. I never understood his playing time throughout the year. And this was a game that I was like, what's it going to hurt you, right? All season long, the excuse I got was his defense. It was his defense. He's such a bad defender that it's just not going to, playing him isn't going to help, and blah, blah, blah. And I got that excuse. Okay, fantastic. You tell me a moment this year where the Badgers defense looked that good that a guy like Connor Sejan was going to hurt them. You tell me that. When you can answer me that question, then I can safely say that I agree. Because their defense was atrocious all year long. And yet Connor Sejan didn't see the floor. His defense wasn't that bad that he would hurt them that much. And yet we did not see Connor Sejan. Now, this is the sad news. Right? You thought sad news was the Badgers. This is the more sad news, right? Connor Sejan comes out yesterday and says, first off, I would like to say thank you to Badger Nation for everything. These last 2 years in Madison have been nothing short of amazing. This place has helped me shape me into the person I am today. The city and university will forever have a special place in my heart. Thank you to all the fans and community for your unconditional love and support. You took me in as your own, and I'm forever grateful for that. Thank you to my teammates who have become a part of my forever family and for the relationship and memories I've created. Thank you to the coaching staff to give me the opportunity to play at the highest level. Thank you to my friends and family for supporting me through this difficult process. But after further consideration, I will be entering my name into the transfer portal. Thank you, Wisconsin. Okay. So now Connor Sejan leaves, transferring out of Wisconsin. One of the better shooters on your team who saw 0 playing time is now leaving Wisconsin. And well, I did see a lot of different comments to it. One guy said he wasn't Guard's doghouse all year, and Guard refused to give him another chance. Yeah, but why? Why? I didn't get it. Why? Why was he never given that second chance? AJ Storr threw up a lot of bad shots, and yet AJ Storr was given chance after chance after chance. Why was Connor? He didn't throw up a bad shot, if you ask me. Defensively, he had a couple of lapses, but who didn't on this Badger team? Who didn't? If you can tell me one guy that was that stellar on the defensive end all year long that Connor Sejan couldn't play, I will wait. But lots of other comments here. One guy said, go get it done at your next spot. Glad you were a part of this for 2 years. Me too. But I wish it was leaving on a higher note. I wish it was leaving on the terms that you played and you just wanted to go somewhere else to try it somewhere else. Not that you were one of the best shooter on the team and you didn't play. That's where the difference relies there. One guy said, I'm not surprised. I read that Wisconsin has top 20 recruiting class coming in next season. He knows his playing time will be cut into half. I don't think they have a top recruiting class. I'm pretty sure Daniel Freitag, I think they're like 40th. I'm pretty sure they're like 40th maybe in there. I don't think they're 20 in the recruiting. They have Jack Robinson and Daniel Freitag coming in, but other than that, I mean, they don't have anybody else coming in right now. So top 20, no, they aren't even in there. Um, One guy said, uncertain why anyone welcome to better team wouldn't leave, especially with tough academic standards at UW. Team is one of the better mediocre teams if that's your preference. Yeah, it's turning into that, right? I mean, yeah, if you're right now, if you're at Madison and you got a phone call from, let's just say, UConn to come and play, you would probably go to UConn. I'll be honest with you. And that's just how it is because UConn is going to give you a better shot to win. And if you can get some kind of play, it depends, right? Playing time will be a big factor in that. But right now, I mean, we don't know what's going on in the locker room. If guys are still the guys under Greg Gard really believe in Greg Gard, I don't know. I never saw the effort waver. I thought the effort was always there. I thought they were still giving it. I don't know right now what it's like in the locker room there. One guy said, oh, well, nothing big. I think it's big. I got to be honest with you. I think it's big. One guy said, I don't blame you, Connor. Best of luck. Yeah, best of luck to him. I mean, I'm going to be a fan of his wherever he goes because this guy, like this guy says, class act, you'll do well elsewhere. I mean, yeah, 100%. This was a guy who was always, supportive, even in the role that he was given with not much playing time. He was a supportive cast in this Badger locker room and everywhere else. I mean, it just came down to you have guys coming in right now and you don't have room for them. I mean, you got AJ Storr if he comes back. You got Chucky Klesman. You have Daniel Freitag coming in. You have McGee in there already and John Blackwell. There's no room left. There's no room left for a guy like Connor Essegian, especially if you're so gung-ho that he's so bad on the defensive end, he's not going to get playing time. It's not going to change. So I don't blame him whatsoever for leaving Madison because that, I mean, at the end of the day, is what's best for him. One guy said it would help next season if Gus Bus has his act together if he is still around. Yeah, that's a big one too. I mean, Gus came into Madison and everybody was higher on him than Nolan Winter. And as far as I know, he wasn't traveling with the team for away games and he wasn't with them for the NCAA tournament. So I don't know what was going on with Gus there, but that's definitely interesting. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Gus Bus situation. Yeah, we're waiting to see, right? I didn't know that we'd see Connor Essegian so early, right after this is done. AJ Storr, I believe, is the next domino to fall, but after that, I don't know what other dominoes could fall in that locker room. I really don't. And one guy came out and said this isn't surprising. Gard didn't use him well. AJ Storr could be out the door since he didn't commit for next season. Yeah, we saw AJ Storr come out and talk, and he didn't commit to the Badgers for next year. They talked to him, and he said NBA draft still on the table, transferring still on the table, everything's still on the table for AJ Storr. So I don't know with AJ Storr what is even going to happen there. So that we got more to get into with the Badgers. I mean, we got the season wrap up. We have a lot of, I'm seeing throughout social media, I'm seeing a lot of posts about Greg Gard and everything like that. So we got lots to tap into here with the Badgers as the week goes on. We got more Brewer talk coming up this week. Like I said earlier, I didn't want to get into too much today because I want to get into it as the week goes on here leading up into opening day. We have Marquette in action on Friday. We're going to touch more into them. We got the Bucks in action this week. Lots to talk about this week. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held